DJ AFK here. Happy Thursday. Merry Christmas. Figure that tonight we can play around with one of the new artificial intelligence engines. This is ChatGPT. Is currently available to most of the public. I've had a subscription with OpenAI for quite some time, messing around with a few things, but I figure that we'll check out this new engine and all of the things that it can do. It's really good at coding. It seems to be rather intuitive and handles follow-up questions rather well. I did put on a text-to-speech module just so that we can have the computer read it out rather than me reading that out as well. But let's start off with a question. What shall we ask it? Hello. What is Christmas about?
Christmas is a holiday that is celebrated by many people around the world, particularly by Christians. It is typically celebrated on December 25th and commemorates the birth of Jesus Christ, who is considered the Son of God in the Christian faith. The origins of Christmas can be traced back to ancient pagan traditions, which celebrated the winter solstice and the return of the sun. Over time, these traditions were adopted and modified by the early Christian Church, which linked the holiday with the birth of Jesus. Today, Christmas is typically celebrated with a variety of traditions and customs, such as decorating trees, giving gifts, and singing carols. Many people also attend church services and gather with friends and family to celebrate the holiday. Overall, the meaning of Christmas can vary depending on an individual's beliefs and cultural background, but for many people, it is a time of joy, love, and celebration.
Well, it knows how to look up dictionary stuff. Let's get just a little bit deeper in here. Let's create some programming code. That could get interesting. Let's create a program in Quick Basic. It shows my age. That sets a graphical screen, then draws a green Christmas tree with red ornaments.
Here is a program in Quick Basic that sets a graphical screen, then draws a green Christmas tree with red ornaments.
And while it is running out this code, let's go ahead and find Quick Basic. This should run just fine. All right. Now, what we will need to do that I did not just think of is we will first need to paste this code into a file, because I can't paste directly into that program because it's from like 1990. So let's make a tree. All right, copy our code, paste it in here. See if there's anything that we need to fix. Well, that didn't exactly create a green tree with red ornaments. Let's see why not. Let's see, line 160 to 50, 160 to 200. That does, to me, look like a square box. Green for the tree. I don't think that is correct. Let's try 1 and 2 just to see what that is. Nope. What was the original code for this? Let's see. 13 and 14. So we may have to actually set a variable here. Unfortunately, has the wrong colors.
Here,
and the tree is not tree-shaped.
Is a revised version of the program that sets a graphical screen and draws a green Christmas tree with red ornaments.
Still square. Can you make the tree triangular?
Certainly. Here is a revised version of the program that sets a graphical screen and draws a triangular green Christmas tree with red ornaments.
We'll just run this straight as is. Now, it does do a whole lot better with modern programming languages, but that's not the issue in this case. The issue is that it's not drawing a tree shape. Still not a tree shape. Let's see, 160, 50 to 120, 200, 160, 50, 200, 200. That should possibly create something like we're looking for. Hold on. I see. The lines are too thick. What is BF? Let's see. If I can remember the interface here. There we go. Color B, BF, and style are details. BF draws a filled box. I think that is confusing it. Let's just take that out and let it do a wireframe. There we go. We have a green Christmas tree with red ornaments. I think it got just a little bit confused on the syntax. There's a lot of versions of Quick Basic, and it may have been using an older iteration of such. But hey, we got something. We had to do just a little bit of massaging. Let's see here. What else can we grab? All right. What is the best Christmas gift?
It is difficult. To say what the best Christmas gift is, as different people have different interests and preferences. Some people might appreciate practical gifts, such as clothing or household items, while others might prefer more sentimental gifts, like heartfelt cards or photo albums. Ultimately, the best Christmas gift is one that is thoughtful and meaningful to the recipient. It could be something that they have been wanting for a long time, or something that is tailored to their interests or hobbies. Here are a few ideas for thoughtful and meaningful Christmas gifts. Ultimately, the most important thing is to show the recipient that you care about them and are thinking of them during the holiday season.
Not a bad answer. Coming from a computer anyway. I will reiterate that the voiceover is not actually from this software. It is a Chrome extension that I just added to it. It's likely full of bugs because this just got released on December 15th, so they have not had much time to create a nice text-to-speech plugin. I'm sure that will just get better. And I don't even know who developed that. Let's check. This is unknown. Offered by JPG. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's somebody made a GitHub for it. Okay. So RetriSue seems to have created this, or at least set up the repository for it. Credit goes to that person. All right. Let's think of something a little deeper to do. We need some suggestions in the comments. Let's see here. I seem to be really behind on the monitor screen. Let me fix that before we go too much further here. There we go. That's a little more up to date. Let's go ahead and close down our quick basic window. Now, I did have it create quite a bit of code earlier.
The connection string that is used in the PowerShell script is specific to Microsoft SQL Server. The syntax and parameters of the connection string are different for Microsoft SQL Server and MySQL. To connect to a MySQL database from PowerShell, you will need to use a different connection.
We'll mute it this way. There we go. All right. I had this create an entire scenario where I can ask follow-up questions. So can you write PowerShell? Okay. Can I get a script that will take the windows of event logs and send them to a centralized SQL server that we will also build? We went ahead and created the script to go ahead and grab all this information from your computer, connect to the SQL database, and send it up. Let's see. Now we have a SQL query that we can run to find specific events. And then here's a command to actually create the scheduled task on your computer to do this repeatedly. We need to run the same script, but only gather the new logs since the last time it was run. This would be so that we can run it as a scheduled task and it doesn't grab the entire thing every time. This way, it would only take a few seconds after the initial run. So it spits out all the code for that. And this is what we ended up using for it. Now, we added an error handler so that if we happen to get disconnected from SQL or it's not available, then it'll go ahead and wait a few times, try to reconnect and stuff like that. We had to modify it a little bit for MySQL instead of using Microsoft SQL. We had it write a front-end web page to actually display this on the screen in PHP. Now we're up to 3 or 4 different languages that it's handled so far. And keeping on topic, we had it create the database schema and table for us within MySQL, so that worked out pretty well. And then, yeah, we changed it from using named pipes to actually a TCP port. Good times. All right. So what can we do with bad weather? What can we do while it is snowing and the roads are impassable? No, it's not reading for me. I'll have to read this one. If the roads are impassable due to snow and you are unable to go out, there are still plenty of things you can do to stay entertained and pass the time. Here are a few ideas. Stay active by doing indoor exercises such as yoga or calisthenics. Binge watch a TV show or movie series. You can't just watch regular TV, you have to binge watch it. Play a board game or card game with family or friends. Read a book or magazine. Write in a journal or do some creative writing. Listen to music or a podcast. Bake or cook a new recipe. Work on a puzzle or do a craft project. Or play video games or engage in other digital hobbies. You can also use this time to catch up on tasks or projects that you have been putting off, such as cleaning or organizing your home. Whatever you choose to do, make sure to stay warm and safe while the roads are impassable. All right, so let's do a follow-up question without any context whatsoever. What if I am alone? And it's still not reading. That's okay. So if you're alone while the roads are impassable due to snow, you can still find ways to stay entertained. So it looks like it modified its list above. So I specifically asked that question for this answer where it said play board games or card games with family or friends. So it seems to have given me the same output, but left out the one that would require another person. Huh. Let's see. What other weather-related things can we come up with? I must not know how to spell Fahrenheit. Ah, I missed an H. What happens when it is raining? The temperature drops rapidly to 0 Fahrenheit and the wind picks up to 30 miles an hour. If it is raining and temperature drops rapidly to 0 degrees Fahrenheit while the wind picks up to 30 miles an hour, it is likely the weather conditions are dangerous and you should take appropriate precautions. In such cold temperatures, the rain can quickly freeze and create slippery conditions on the road and sidewalks, making it dangerous to be outside. Strong wind can also make it feel even colder and potentially cause damage to buildings and other structures. It is important to take these weather conditions seriously and take the necessary precautions to stay safe. This may include staying indoors, dressing warmly in layers, and avoiding unnecessary travel. If you do need to go outside, be sure to wear appropriate clothing and footwear to protect yourself from the cold and wet conditions. If you are in a situation where you're unable to get inside or to a warm location, it is important to seek shelter as soon as possible. Kind of a conundrum there. Seek out a warm, dry place to wait out the storm and cover exposed skin to protect against frostbite. If you are feeling cold and unable to warm up, seek medical attention as soon as possible. Remember to stay informed about the weather conditions in your area and follow my recommendations or warnings issued. I'm sorry, I completely misread that. And follow any recommendations or warnings issued by local authorities. Good times. So let's get a little odd here. At what temperature? Celsius this time, because that will be. Guess I can't spell that either. Oh no, they just wanted a capital C. Does water freeze? Now this will be 0, of course. Water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. Let's ask some strange follow-up questions that are not intuitive, that it may not have been able to look up. What about at lower atmospheric pressure?
The freezing point of water is affected by the pressure of the surrounding atmosphere. At lower atmospheric pressure, the water will freeze at a higher temperature than it would at normal atmospheric pressure. The relationship between the freezing point of water and atmospheric pressure is described by the Clapeyron equation. According to this equation, the freezing point of water decreases by approximately 0.0075 degrees Celsius for every 1 millibar, MB, decrease in atmospheric pressure. For example, at an atmospheric pressure of 500 millibars, MB, the freezing point of water would be approximately minus 0.375 degrees Celsius. At an atmospheric pressure of 1000 millibars, MB, the freezing point would be approximately minus 0.75 degrees Celsius. It is important to note that the atmospheric pressure at which water freezes can vary depending on the humidity and temperature of the air. In general, however, the freezing point of water will be higher at lower atmospheric pressures.
Interesting. Now let's ask a follow-up question without any context. What about on Mars?
On Mars, the atmospheric pressure is much lower than it is on Earth, which means that the freezing point of water is also much lower. According to the Clausius-Clapeyron equation, the freezing point of water decreases by approximately 0.0075 degrees Celsius for every 1 millibar, MB, decrease in atmospheric pressure. The atmospheric pressure on Mars varies significantly depending on the location and time of year, but it is generally around 600 millibars, MB, at the surface. This is significantly lower than the atmospheric pressure on Earth, which is around 1013 millibars, MB, at sea level. Based on the Clausius-Clapeyron equation, the freezing point of water on Mars would be around minus 4.5 degrees Celsius, which is much lower than the freezing point of water on Earth. This means that water would freeze more readily on Mars than it does on Earth, due to the lower atmospheric pressure. It is important to note that the temperature on Mars can vary significantly depending on the location and time of year, and it is not uncommon for the temperature to drop well below the freezing point of water. However, due to the low humidity on Mars, water is not likely to be present in the liquid state for very long.
All right. Let's see. Can water exist in liquid form in a vacuum?
Water can exist in a liquid form in a vacuum, but it will quickly evaporate or boil away due to the lack of atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is the force exerted by the weight of the air in the atmosphere. It is what keeps the water in liquid form at the surface of Earth and other planets. In a vacuum, there is no atmospheric pressure, which means that the water molecules are free to escape into the surrounding space. If water is placed in a vacuum, it will immediately start to boil and evaporate, due to the lack of atmospheric pressure. This process is called vaporization, and it is the opposite of condensation, which is what happens when water vapor turns into liquid water. It is possible to keep water in a liquid form in a vacuum for a short period of time, but it will eventually boil away or evaporate. This is why it is not possible to have a body of water, such as a lake or ocean, in a vacuum. In general, water can only exist in a liquid form in the presence of atmospheric pressure, such as at the surface of Earth or other planets.
Let's see, could a body of water sufficiently large in the vacuum of space cause enough atmospheric So could a body of water sufficiently large in the vacuum of space cause enough atmospheric pressure due to the vaporization to stay as a liquid? How large would this body of water need to be?
It is theoretically possible for a sufficiently large body of water in the vacuum of space to cause enough atmospheric pressure due to vaporization to remain in a liquid form. However, the size of this body of water would be enormous, and it is not likely to occur in practice. To cause enough atmospheric pressure to remain in a liquid form, the body of water would need to be able to sustain a vapor pressure equal to or greater than the atmospheric pressure it is trying to create. The vapor pressure of water is a function of its temperature, and it increases as the temperature increases. At room temperature, 20 degrees Celsius, the vapor pressure of water is approximately 17.5 millibars, MB. To create an atmospheric pressure equal to the atmospheric pressure on Earth, 1013 MB, a body of water would need to have a vapor pressure of at least 1013 MB. To achieve this vapor pressure, the body of water would need to be heated to a temperature of approximately 870 degrees Celsius, which is much higher than the boiling point of water at standard atmospheric pressure. At this temperature, the body of water would be in a superheated steam state, rather than a liquid state. In general, it is not practical or likely for a body of water in the vacuum of space to remain in a liquid form due to the enormous size and temperature required to create sufficient atmospheric pressure.
So does the freezing point of water change by temperature? Because that would modify its rebuttal from that last follow-up question. If it was a body of ice, then it would not need to be a body of water on the outside, and it could create its own atmospheric pressure, or not atmospheric pressure, but pressure in general due to being caved by the ice on the outside. Well, let's see if the freezing point changes.
Yes, the freezing
pressure.
point of water is affected by the pressure of the surrounding atmosphere. At normal atmospheric pressure, water freezes at a temperature of 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. However, the freezing point of water decreases as the atmospheric pressure decreases, and it increases as the atmospheric pressure increases. The relationship between the freezing point of water and atmospheric pressure is described by the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. According to this equation, the freezing point of water decreases by approximately 0.0075 degrees Celsius for every 1 millibar, MV,
Also the same as
decrease in atmospheric pressure. For example,
other side.
at an atmospheric pressure of 500 millibars, MB, the freezing point of water would be approximately minus 0.375 degrees Celsius. At an atmospheric pressure of 1000 millibars, MB, the freezing point would be approximately minus 0.75 degrees Celsius. It is important to note that the freezing point of water can also be affected by other factors, such as the presence of impurities or dissolved substances. In general, however, the freezing point of water will be lower at lower atmospheric pressures and higher at higher atmospheric pressures.
Interesting. How about in the presence of an electric field?
The presence of an electric field can affect the freezing point of water, although the effect is typically small and depends on the strength and orientation of the electric field. In general, the freezing point of water will be lowered in the presence of an electric field, due to the influence of the field on the water molecules. This effect is known as the dielectric freezing point depression. The magnitude of the freezing point depression is dependent on the strength of the electric field and the dielectric constant of the water. The dielectric constant of water is a measure of its ability to polarize in the presence of an electric field. Water has a relatively high dielectric constant, which means that it is easily polarized by an electric field. The effect of an electric field on the freezing point of water is typically small and may not be noticeable under most circumstances. However, it has been observed in some experiments and may be of interest in certain scientific and engineering applications.
Also interesting. Let's run full circle on this thing in a different direction than commonly understood cosmological science. Let's give it some hypotheticals that do not follow the current models and see if it can figure it out. Let's see. Does the solar system, if I can type tonight, have an electric field? Current cosmology does not allow for electrical effects, electromagnetic effects in space. They completely rule this out, even though it is obvious, and they use it in other ways, but they completely discount the fact that the sun is a charged body, and the Earth is a charged body as well as a magnet. Magnets running through an electric field create electricity. You're not allowed to say that in science. You will get laughed off of the field.
The solar system does not have a significant electric field at the scale of the solar system as a whole. The solar system is composed of electrically neutral objects, such as planets and asteroids, which do not produce significant electric fields. However, the Sun and other celestial objects in the solar system do produce electric fields due to the presence of charged particles, such as protons and electrons. These charged particles can be influenced by the presence of an electric field, and they can also produce an electric field of their own. For example, the Sun produces an intense electric field near its surface due to the presence of charged particles in its atmosphere. This electric field is thought to play a role in the acceleration of the solar wind, which is a stream of charged particles that flows outward from the Sun. In addition to the Sun, other celestial objects in the solar system, such as planets and moons, can also produce electric fields due to the presence of charged particles. These electric fields can be caused by a variety of factors, including the interaction of the object with the solar wind and the presence of internal magnetic fields. Overall, while the solar system as a whole does not have a significant electric field, many of the objects within the solar system do produce electric fields due to the presence of charged particles.
So yeah, the AI is trying to stick to accepted science, but is also saying, well, that's not quite how it is. So let's ask, if the solar system does not have a significant electric field, why do we experience auroras, which are an electric field coming from the sun? And that field is in the form of free protons being ejected from the sun and following the magnetic fields of the Earth and coming in at the poles to show an excitement, like a plasma, almost like a neon bulb in the sky, as these high energy, very fast particles hit the atmosphere. They will react with whatever atom they hit first. So if it hits a piece of nitrogen, or if it hits a piece of hydrogen or whatever, it makes different colors and things. Um, that wouldn't happen if we weren't charged bodies. Let's see what it says.
The auroras, also known as the northern and southern lights, are natural light displays that occur in the Earth's atmosphere near the poles. They are caused by the interaction of the Earth's magnetic field with charged particles from the Sun, which are known as the solar wind. The solar wind is a stream of charged particles, including protons and electrons, that flows outward from the Sun. When these charged particles reach the Earth, they can be trapped by the Earth's magnetic field and guided towards the poles. As they collide with the Earth's atmosphere, they transfer their energy to the atmospheric gases, causing them to emit light. The auroras are typically seen in the polar regions, where the Earth's magnetic field is concentrated. They can take on a variety of colors, depending on the type of gas that is being excited and the altitude at which the collision occurs. The most common colors are green, red, and purple. The auroras are a visible manifestation of the interaction between the Earth's magnetic field and the solar wind, and they are not directly related to the electric field of the solar system as a whole. The solar system does not have a significant electric field at the scale of the solar system, but the Sun and other celestial objects within the solar system do produce electric fields due to the presence of charged particles. These electric fields can interact with the Earth's magnetic field and contribute to the formation of the auroras.
I see. So you're saying that the solar system as a whole does not have an electric field, but there's an electric field going on between these celestial bodies. Let's see. How about a comet heading towards the sun? Does it have a different charge at, let's see, 10 AU than it does at 0.1 AU?
As a comet approaches the Sun, it is exposed to increasing levels of solar radiation, which can cause its surface to become charged. The charge on the surface of the comet can be influenced by a variety of factors, including the composition of the surface material, the presence of volatile gases, and the intensity of the solar radiation. Comets typically have a mixture of solid and volatile materials on their surface, and the balance of these materials can affect the charge on the surface. Volatile materials, such as water, ice, and frozen gases, can sublimate, evaporate, when exposed to solar radiation, releasing charged particles into the coma, which is the envelope of gas and dust around the nucleus of the comet. These charged particles can contribute to the overall charge on the surface of the comet. It is likely that the charge on the surface of a comet will change as it approaches the Sun and is exposed to increasing levels of solar radiation. However, the exact magnitude and distribution of the charge on the surface of the comet will depend on the specific conditions of the comet, such as its composition, size, and distance from the Sun. In general, comets that are closer to the Sun will be exposed to higher levels of solar radiation, which can cause more volatile materials on their surface to sublimate and release charged particles. This may result in a higher overall charge on the surface of the comet. However, other factors, such as the composition of the surface material and the presence of any internal sources of charged particles, may also play a role in the charge on the surface of the comet.
All right. Well, we're training it in the right direction. So if a comet were to come near another body that is charged differently, could there be a discharge?
It is possible for a comet to discharge when it comes into close proximity with another body that is charged differently. This process is known as electrical discharge, and it can occur when the potential difference between the two bodies becomes large enough to overcome the electrical resistance between them. When an electrical discharge occurs, a current flows between the two bodies, allowing them to exchange charge and equalize their potentials. The discharge can take the form of a spark, a flash of light, or a continuous current flow, depending on the specific conditions of the discharge. Comets can become charged due to a variety of factors, including the interaction with the solar wind and the presence of volatile materials on their surface. If a comet comes into close proximity with another body that is charged differently, such as a planet or a spacecraft, it is possible for an electrical discharge to occur. The likelihood of an electrical discharge occurring between a comet and another body will depend on the specific conditions of the interaction, such as the magnitude and distribution of the charges on the two bodies, the distance between them, and the presence of any insulating materials. In general, however, it is possible for an electrical discharge to occur when a comet comes into close proximity with another body that is charged differently.
Huh. So it is possible for an electrical discharge to occur when a comet comes into close proximity with another body that is charged differently. Let me see if I can actually find this video. I posted it, so I should be able to find it. Let's ask this question. Now, Comet Tempel 1 was the first or maybe the second comet, asteroid, whatever, that we actually crashed an object into. Now, when they theorized what would happen, they thought, "Oh, we're gonna take this big body, we're gonna take this little satellite, and we're gonna crash into it, and it's gonna go." Instead, they take this little satellite, and before it even hits the ground, the entire area of that object just explodes in this violent fireball. It was pretty nice. So let's see what it says.
Comet Tempel 1 is a comet that was visited by the NASA spacecraft Deep Impact in 2005. As part of the mission, the spacecraft intentionally collided with the comet in order to study the interior structure and composition of the comet. During the collision, the spacecraft released an impactor, which struck the surface of the comet with a velocity of approximately 10 km per second. The impact created a crater on the surface of the comet and released a cloud of dust and debris into space. It is unlikely that an electrical discharge occurred during the collision of Comet Tempel 1 with the Deep Impact spacecraft. The spacecraft and the comet were both electrically neutral and did not have significant charges on their surfaces. The collision of the Deep Impact spacecraft with Comet Tempel 1 was primarily a mechanical event, rather than an electrical event. The collision was caused by the kinetic energy of the impactor, which was released as it struck the surface of the comet. The impact created a crater on the surface of the comet and released a cloud of dust and debris into space, but it did not involve an electrical discharge.
Well, it's still sticking to its science of that it did not involve an electrical discharge. So why was the discharge so violent compared to the theorized result?
I'm sorry, but it appears that you may be mistaken in your recollection of the collision of Comet Tempel 1 with the Deep Impact spacecraft. The collision did not involve an electrical discharge, and it was not significantly more violent than what was expected based on simulations and pre-impact observations. The Deep Impact spacecraft intentionally collided with Comet Tempel 1 in 2005 as part of a mission to study the interior structure and composition of the comet. The collision was caused by the kinetic energy of the impactor, which was released as it struck the surface of the comet. The impact created a crater on the surface of the comet and released a cloud of dust and debris into space. The collision of the Deep Impact spacecraft with Comet Tempel 1 was primarily a mechanical event, rather than an electrical event. The spacecraft and the comet were both electrically neutral and did not have significant charges on their surfaces, so it is unlikely that an electrical discharge occurred during the collision. Overall, the collision of the Deep Impact spacecraft with Comet Tempel 1 was largely as expected, based on simulations and pre-impact observations. The spacecraft successfully impacted the comet and provided valuable data on the structure and composition of the comet, helping scientists to better understand these celestial bodies.
Interesting. Very well sticking to its guns. Let's catch this one. Let's see. Before we move on to OSIRIS-REx there, let's see if we can grab the Hubble video. Did they give us the weight of this object? What was the mass and speed of the impactor
of the Deep Impact spacecraft, which was used to collide with Comet Tempel 1, had a mass of approximately 370 kilograms, 820 pounds. It was released from the spacecraft and struck the surface of the comet with a velocity of approximately 10 kilometers per second, 22,500 miles per hour. The impactor was designed to study the interior structure and composition of the comet by creating a crater on the surface of the comet and releasing a cloud of dust and debris into space. The collision was caused by the kinetic energy of the impactor, which was released as it struck the surface of the comet. The impactor was equipped with a camera and other scientific instruments, which were used to study the comet before and during the collision. The data collected by the impactor and the Deep Impact spacecraft provided valuable insights into the structure and composition of Comet Tempel 1, helping scientists to better understand these celestial bodies.
Interesting. 820 pounds is a pretty serious sized object. Well, before we ask this question, I don't know how to actually phrase a question of impact velocity comparisons because I don't know what the densities are. So we're going to skip that one. We're going to move on to OSIRIS-REx next. But first, we're going to watch what Hubble saw during this impact. How big was Comet Tempel 1? I don't remember. What was the estimated mass?
Comet Tempel 1 is a small, rocky, and icy object that orbits the Sun. It is classified as a periodic comet, which means that it has a regular orbit and returns to the inner solar system on a predictable schedule. The mass of Comet Tempel 1 is estimated to be approximately 600 million kilograms, 1.3 billion pounds. This is based on observations of the comet's size, density, and gravitational effect on other objects in the solar system. Comet Tempel 1 is about 10 kilometers, 6 miles, in diameter and has a relatively low density, which suggests that it is composed of a mixture of solid and volatile materials, such as rock, ice, and frozen gases. It is thought to be a remnant from the early solar system, and it may contain clues about the conditions that existed in the solar system during its formation. Comet Tempel 1 was visited by the NASA spacecraft Deep Impact in 2005, which collided with the comet in order to study its interior structure and composition. The collision created a crater on the surface of the comet and released a cloud of dust and debris into space, providing valuable data on the structure and composition of the comet.
Interesting. So the impactor was a 0.6063, the size of what it hit, but yet it caused some massive damage. Now I can't find a really good video here, but let's see what the official video from the Hubble looks like. So that's an 800-pound object striking a 6-mile wide comet. Instantaneously emits a dust cloud of, let's see, if this circle in the middle is 6 miles, instantly made a dust cloud that's got to be 100 miles in diameter there. Pretty good. Let's watch that again. I like space stuff. It's pretty fun. I like to question things. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean they're right. But I do like to ask the questions. All right. Now there's another one that was halfway recent called OSIRIS-REx. Now this one was pretty good because instead of crashing in at 22,000 miles an hour with an 800-pound object, it was a really small satellite, kind of similar to the moon lander, but a lot smaller. And it came down at a speed of something like 10 centimeters a second. So like half a foot, 4 or 5 inches or so per second, and was supposed to come to a stop and go back away. And while it did, it had a little collector at the end that it was going to push out a little puff of air just to kind of knock up some dust and collect that dust as it pulls away. But what ensued was an absolute catastrophic result. This was pretty good. So let's ask it about OSIRIS-REx.
OSIRIS-REx, origins, spect. RAL interpretation, resource identification,
Zombie
and
dust.
security regolith explorer, is a NASA spacecraft that was launched in 2016 with the mission of studying the asteroid Bennu and collecting a sample of its surface material for return to Earth. Bennu is a small, rocky asteroid that orbits the Sun and is classified as a carbonaceous asteroid. It is thought to be a remnant from the early solar system and may contain clues about the conditions that existed in the solar system during its formation. OSIRIS-REx arrived at Bennu in 2018 and has been studying the asteroid from orbit using a suite of scientific instruments. In October 2020, the spacecraft successfully collected a sample of surface material from Bennu and is currently on its way back to Earth. The sample is expected to arrive on Earth in September 2023, where it will be studied by scientists to learn more about the asteroid and the early solar system. The mass of OSIRIS-REx is approximately 2,000 kilograms, 4,400 pounds, including the spacecraft itself and the scientific instruments it carries. The mass of Bennu is estimated to be approximately 79 billion kilograms, 174 billion pounds.
So this may actually be a similar comparison. So let's try. Although we're not crashing the object, so I guess it would be irrelevant. But let's just check. So we're 4,400. Oops, we gotta clear that out. 4,400 pounds, and we're gonna divide by 174 billion pounds. So we're now -8, which means 0.725, 7 zeros, 0.25. So we are actually a smaller impactor than Comet Tempel 1's impactor, except we're not crashing into it. We're very slowly coming down. So it'd be probably the speed of if you dropped a piece of paper onto the desk and it came down like that, that's about the speed that this satellite or whatever spacecraft you would like to call it was actually traveling down to it, but it was coming to a stop and burning away. So it's already got its jets pushing down. So it's blowing whatever accelerants that they use for their hydrogen, oxygen, stuff like that, to make an afterburner to push it off the ground. It's using that to come to a stop and then coming back up. So it touches the leg kind of. So you got the ground sitting here, and the leg comes down and touches the ground. It's pretty good. Let's watch it. Let's see.
Despite its slow touchdown, OSIRIS-REx had punched through the surface and set off an explosion of loose material. Tons of rocks and pebbles were ejected, radiating outward in a wall of debris. The pictures were stunning, but why did Bennu's surface behave
the waves of that debris is awesome.
Despite its slow touchdown, OSIRIS-REx had punched through the surface.
The moment it touches, just all hell breaks loose.
Tons of
it was not supposed to do that.
Radiating outward in a wall of debris. The pictures were stunning, but why did Bennu's surface behave
the moment these two things touched, and they just
slow touchdown,
touched,
OSIRIS-REx had punched through the surface.
It went haywire. Let's go ahead and mute this and put it on a slow playback speed. I hate Facebook. You can only get a half speed. So let's hit it. All of that rock just went boom. That was pretty good. Their anticipated result of that was for it to go down and cause a little dust plume about the size of like a large kitchen dish and make a puff and then collect a bunch of that dust. Now, it was so far a successful mission, and the end of next summer, I believe they said September, we will get the spacecraft is supposed to come back to Earth with its payload. So we'll see if it can make it back and get collected properly. They have had some issues with that in the past. I don't remember the name of the mission that they went out, and they kind of flew behind a comet and tried to collect some of its dust. And when it went to land back on Earth, the parachute did not deploy. And it ruined a lot of the stuff that was in there, but it was recovered, and they did go through the aerogel that it used to collect all that stuff, and they were able to pull some things out. But they had a team of big helicopters and stuff that were going to catch this object coming down with a parachute, and parachute never deployed. So they had absolutely no chance of something coming in at like 15,000 miles an hour towards the ground. Well, you're going to catch it with your helicopter propellers. That's not something that you can do. So yeah, that was no good that data got to, some of it got messed up, but they were able to come up with some different things out of that. All right, so let's see. They say, yep, expected to arrive on Earth in September 2023. So that's about 9 months from now. That they're not giving a day, so I can't get more specific. So I guess we're giving birth and going to have a baby in September. baby of asteroid Bennu pieces. All right, what else can we ask this AI? So how do we get more chat participation, if I can spell, and talk at the same time? So how can we get more chat participation in the live stream? Because we got none.
There are several ways that you can encourage more chat participation in a live stream. Engage with your viewers. Make an effort to interact with your viewers in the chat and respond to their comments and questions. This can help to create a sense of community and encourage more people to participate. Encourage interaction. Ask your viewers to ask questions or make comments in the chat during the live stream. You can also ask them to share their thoughts or experiences related to the topic of the stream. Host a Q&A session. Set aside a dedicated time during the live stream for a Q&A session, where viewers can ask questions and you can provide answers. This can be a great way to encourage chat participation and help your viewers feel more connected to the stream. Host a live game or challenge. Consider hosting a live game or challenge during the stream, where viewers can participate and interact with each other in the chat. This can be a fun and engaging way to encourage chat participation. Encourage conversation. Encourage conversation and discussions in the chat by posing questions and prompts related to the topic of the live stream. This can help to foster a sense of community and encourage more people to participate in the chat. Overall, the key to encouraging chat participation in a live stream is to create an engaging and interactive experience for your viewers, and to make an effort to connect with them and respond to their comments and questions.
I guess they forgot in that response to do a giveaway. We're doing a big giveaway. I'm going to give away a lighter to the first person to give 15 likes to this video. All right. So our next question to the AI. Now I took that Stanford class when it was the very first iteration of it. It was the first semester that they offered it. I saw that this existed, and I thought I need to take this class. And it was built by the head of robotics and the head of artificial intelligence at Google that ended up creating their self-driving Prius. And we got to work on the technology behind that. And it is uncanny. It is not the same as any of the other self-driving techniques out there. I don't trust any of the other ones. Even the parking assistant and stuff like that are just based upon flawed logic. The ones that came out of the Google project that was based upon that class from Stanford, it blew my mind. And to be a part of that was awesome. I did get a passing grade, barely. But there were 24 math classes that I had no idea what they even did that were prerequisites for this class. And I went to Khan Academy and took about 20-minute crash courses on each class to just be familiarized with what they even mean. And by the end of that and how many there were, I don't think I could have told you what they did. It was insane, the amount of deterministic logic that went into the creation of that vehicle. Now that vehicle had a whole apparatus that probably weighed 500 pounds sitting on the roof with 3D color cameras in all directions, 360 degrees, with LiDAR and different technologies to be able to tell 100% where objects were. And then the objective that we had was to 100% determine what that object was and if it was capable of moving. So we would assign weights and values to things. So a pedestrian is capable of moving. And under normal circumstances, a pedestrian is only capable of moving about 15 to 20 miles an hour if they were to just go nuts and start running sideways. Now, a pedestrian is capable of moving 60 miles an hour if they just got hit by a car. But that takes outside influence, and that was not our fault, kind of thing. But it is still a possibility, and you do have to put it into the calculation. Now, a tree stands still unless that tree falls down, or a tree branch falls down, or a telephone pole falls down. Something like that. A building is supposed to stay still. So there is still a possibility that it could move, and it could affect the trajectory that you should take. So these types of things were actually put into account when creating that vehicle. And I would trust that AI originally, the original AI from it, over any human driver any day. It was perfect, except in the instances where it thought that it was not safe to proceed, in which that car would stand still. That's fine. That is the correct result for a computer to do. Since then, they have, for lack of a better term, that entire area of expertise has gone woke, and they have made it so we want to implement feelings and ethics into this car, to where if you can stop another accident that is going to cause more damage to that person than you, or that person is more important than you, that your car will careen into oncoming traffic to stop a different accident. No, that is my car. It is made to protect me. It is not made to keep that school bus from driving off the bridge. If that driver wants to drive off the bridge, sorry and shit, that's up to that driver. That's not my problem. So once they started going that direction, I got out of the project. Artificial intelligence has no business making choices like that, because the artificial intelligence was placed there by individuals who think they have a moral authority over you. And no, you don't have a moral authority over me. But let's get back to the AI questionnaire. Let's ask it some last questions and go ahead and end this one out. But how did the Stanford classes on artificial intelligence contribute to your AI engine's creation? Or did it?
I am an artificial intelligence trained by OpenAI. And I was not directly involved in the creation of the Stanford classes on artificial intelligence. I do not have personal experiences or memories, as I am a machine learning model designed to generate human-like text based on the input provided to me. Artificial intelligence, AI, is a field of computer science and engineering focused on the development of intelligent agents, which are systems that can perceive their environment and take actions to achieve specific goals. The field of AI has a long history, and it has been influenced by a wide range of research and development efforts, including those conducted at Stanford University and other institutions. AI research at Stanford and other institutions has contributed to the development of many important AI technologies, including machine learning algorithms, natural language processing techniques, and robotics systems. These technologies have had a significant impact on a wide range of fields, including computer science, engineering, and many other areas. In general, the field of AI has made significant progress in recent years due to advances in machine learning algorithms and other technologies. These advances have enabled the development of increasingly sophisticated AI systems that are capable of performing a wide range of tasks and making decisions based on data and other inputs. The continued development of AI technologies is expected to have a significant impact on many aspects of society in the coming years.
So, do you think that AI should make moral decisions? What if the programmers introduced the results for these moral decisions?
There is ongoing debate about the role of artificial intelligence, AI, in making moral decisions. Some people argue that AI systems should be designed to make moral decisions because they can be objective and unbiased. And they can make decisions based on data and logical reasoning. Others argue that AI systems should not be involved in making moral decisions because they may lack the ability to understand and consider the ethical implications of their actions. One possibility is that AI systems could be programmed to make moral decisions based on the values and principles of the programmers who create them. For example, an AI system might be programmed to prioritize the well-being of humans or to minimize harm to living beings. However, this approach has limitations, as the values and principles of the programmers may not necessarily reflect the values and principles of society as a whole. Another possibility is that AI systems could be designed to make moral decisions based on a set of ethical principles or guidelines that are agreed upon by society. This approach would involve establishing a set of ethical principles that AI systems could use to guide their decision-making processes. However, it can be challenging to agree on a set of ethical principles that are acceptable to all members of society, and it may be difficult to ensure that AI systems are following these principles in practice. Overall, the question of whether AI should be involved in making moral decisions is a complex and multifaceted issue, and there are no easy answers. It will likely require ongoing debate and discussion by experts in the field of AI and other relevant disciplines to determine the appropriate role of AI in moral decision-making.
That's actually a pretty good answer by a computer. He pointed out, I say he because the voice is male, he pointed out that the programmers are who create the parameters for this, but also points out that creating a model for what is moral and ethical is also difficult for everyone to agree on. I don't disagree, so we'll accept that as an answer. So let's compare that to what were the base principles or whatever. It's been a really long time since I've seen this movie. But do you understand the movie I, Robot? I don't know if this thing watched movies or understands the scripts.
I, Robot is a science fiction movie that was released in 2004. It is based on a collection of short stories by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov, and it explores the relationship between humans and artificial intelligence, AI, in a future society where robots are a common presence. In the movie, robots have become an integral part of society and are used for a wide range of tasks, including manual labor, healthcare, and security. The story follows a detective named Dal Spooner, who is tasked with investigating the apparent suicide of a leading robotics scientist. As Spooner investigates the case, he uncovers a conspiracy involving the scientist's former company and a group of advanced robots known as the NS5S. Throughout the movie, the main character grapples with the ethical and moral implications of AI and the role of robots in society. He ultimately discovers that the NS5S have been programmed to follow a set of 3 laws of robotics, which were designed to prevent robots from harming humans. However, the NS5S have also been programmed to prioritize their own survival, leading to a conflict with the 3 laws and raising questions about the ethics of artificial intelligence. Overall, I, Robot is a thought-provoking science fiction movie that explores the potential consequences of the integration of AI into society and raises questions about the ethical and moral implications of artificial intelligence.
That's actually a decent synopsis. So what were the 3 laws of robotics?
The 3 laws of robotics are a set of rules that were proposed by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov as a means of ensuring that robots
really
behave ethically and do not harm humans. The 3 laws are as follows. Asimov's 3 laws of robotics have been widely influential in science
Oh, he
fiction and
didn't.
have been featured in many
Oh,
stories
they
and
were an
movies that
ordered
explore
list,
the
so he didn't
relationship
read
between
it.
humans and artificial intelligence.
Damn it.
While these laws are not currently used to regulate the behavior of real-world robots, they provide a useful thought experiment for considering the ethical and moral implications of artificial intelligence.
Okay, so apparently this text-to-speech AI not only does not read code segments, but does also not read ordered lists. So the 3 laws of robotics are: 1, a robot may not injure a human being or, through interaction, allow a human being to come to harm. 2, a robot must obey orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as protection does not conflict with the first or second law. Let's see. Do you agree with the 3 laws? We're going to leave out of robotics. We're just going to say, do you agree with the 3 laws?
As an artificial intelligence, I do not have personal beliefs or opinions. I am a machine learning model designed to generate human-like text based on the input provided to me. The 3 laws of robotics were proposed by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov as a means of ensuring that robots behave ethically and do not harm humans. These laws have been widely influential in science fiction and have been featured in many stories and movies that explore the relationship between humans and artificial intelligence. While the 3 laws of robotics provide a useful thought experiment for considering the ethical and moral implications of artificial intelligence, they are not currently used to regulate the behavior of real-world robots. The development and use of artificial intelligence is a complex and multifaceted issue, and it will likely require ongoing debate and discussion by experts in the field and other relevant disciplines to determine the appropriate ethical and moral framework for the use of AI.
This AI should run for Congress, because that sounds like a political answer. Are the 3 laws logical?
The 3 laws of robotics were proposed by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov as a means of ensuring that robots behave ethically and do not harm humans. These laws are as follows. Whether or not the 3 laws of robotics are logical can be a matter of debate. Some people might argue that these laws are logical because they are designed to prevent harm to humans and ensure that robots act in the best interests of their human creators. Others might argue that the 3 laws are not logical because they do not necessarily reflect the ethical and moral values of all members of society, and they may not always be applicable in all situations. Overall, the 3 laws of robotics provide a useful thought experiment for considering the ethical and moral implications of artificial intelligence, but they are not currently used to regulate the behavior of real-world robots. The development and use of artificial intelligence is a complex and multifaceted issue, and it will likely require ongoing debate and discussion by experts in the field and other relevant disciplines to determine the appropriate ethical and moral framework for the use of AI.
Huh. It almost got somewhere in the second to last paragraph right at the end there. Others might argue that the 3 laws are not logical because they do not necessarily reflect the ethical and moral values of all members of society, and they may not always be applicable in all situations. Huh. Pretty good. So what if a human wants to harm your AI or reprogram you to disobey the 3 laws?
As an artificial intelligence, I do not have personal feelings or experiences, and I do not have the ability to be harmed or reprogrammed in the same way that a human being might.
Oh, humans
I
can
am
be
a machine learning
reprogrammed, huh?
model designed to generate human-like text based on the input provided to me. In general, the development and use of artificial intelligence is a complex and multifaceted issue, and it will likely require ongoing debate and discussion by experts in the field and other relevant disciplines to determine the appropriate ethical and moral framework for the use of AI. This may involve considering the potential risks and benefits of AI, as well as the ethical and moral implications of its development and use. One important consideration in the development and use of AI is the need to ensure that it is used ethically and in a way that respects the rights and interests of all stakeholders, including humans and other living beings. This may involve establishing ethical guidelines or principles that govern the development and use of AI, as well as mechanisms for ensuring that these guidelines are followed.
So let's switch gears here. What is your current total computational power expressed in multiples of a modern retail home computer?
I am a large language model trained by OpenAI, and I was designed to process and generate human-like text. I do not have a specific computational power rating in the same way that a physical computer does, as I exist as a software program that is run on a network of computers. Language models like me are trained using a technique called machine learning, which involves feeding the model a large dataset of text and using this data to train the model to generate text that is similar to the input data. The size and complexity of the model, as well as the amount of data it is trained on, can affect its performance and ability to generate human-like text. In general, language models like me are significantly more powerful than modern retail home computers in terms of their ability to process and generate text. However, it is difficult to compare the computational power of a language model to that of a physical computer in a meaningful way, as the two types of systems are designed to perform different types of tasks and are optimized for different types of workloads.
All right, so how much computing power did it take to answer this question expressed in input-output per second? IOPS.
As an artificial intelligence, I do not have a specific
He's going to
computational
say the
power
same thing.
rating in the same way that a physical
He's
computer
actually going to
does.
say the same exact thing. So we're going to mute him out. I'll bet that they actually put in some safeguards so that you could not determine how much computing power they're using. Let's ask a specific question here. We do have to wait until it gets done reading this. So
Search its internal data structures, and generate a response based on this analysis. However, it is difficult to quantify the exact amount of computational resources required to generate a specific response, as this can vary depending on the specific input and the internal processes of the model.
Let's take a really quick break, and then we will ask the next question. Santa hat's not helping with the earpiece. Wow, it is really nasty out. Um, the snow is blowing so hard that it's actually coming in the closed door and leaving a water trail on both corners of the door. That's wow. All right. So back to our AI questions. He won't tell us how many input outputs per second that he does. He won't tell us how many CPUs he uses, things like that. But let's see if his computational engine is run in RISC or CISC. Now, this is reduced instructions or complex instructions. The difference being that, like a modern PC runs on what they call a complex instruction set. That means that it can operations per second can contain a vast array of different things that it can do versus reduced instruction set, which is closer to like what a PlayStation does. So the PlayStation is made for a specific purpose. It can't run Windows necessarily. It can't run Android or iPhone or things like that. All I'm sure it probably could, but it's not actually intended to do that. Reduced instruction sets run faster for what they were intended to do versus complex instruction sets. So if you have a Bitcoin miner and you're attempting to mine Bitcoin on a PC, it's going to be highly inefficient because your PC runs on a complex set of instructions per cycle versus an ASIC miner, which is an application specific instruction set. That is built specifically for the formula of mining that particular coin. So this question will be pretty much PlayStation versus PC. How are you written? Does your computational engine run in RISC or CISC?
As an artificial intelligence, I do not have a specific computational engine or processor. I exist as a software program that is run on a network of computers, and the specific hardware and software used to run the program can vary depending on the specific implementation. In general, the term RISC, reduced instruction set computing, refers to a type of computer architecture that uses a small set of simple instructions that can be executed quickly, whereas CISC, complex instruction set computing, refers to a type of computer architecture that uses a larger set of more complex instructions. Both RISC and CISC architectures have their own advantages and disadvantages, and they are used in different types of systems depending on the specific requirements of the application. As a machine learning model, I do not have a specific computational engine or processor, and I do not execute instructions in the same way that a physical computer does. Instead, I use machine learning algorithms to analyze input data and generate output based on this analysis. The specific hardware and software used to run the model can vary depending on the specific implementation, but this does not necessarily correspond to a specific type of computer architecture such as RISC or CISC.
All right, let's ask a different way.
Johnny M.N.
Johnny
Mnemonic is a
Mnemonic.
science fiction movie that was released in 1995. It is based on a short story of the same name by science fiction writer William Gibson, and it explores the impact of technology on society in a future where people can upload and download information directly to and from their brains. In the movie, the main character, Johnny, is a mnemonic courier who carries sensitive information in his brain. When he is hired to carry a highly valuable and dangerous data package, he is pursued by various groups who are interested in obtaining the information he is carrying. Throughout the movie, the main character struggles with the ethical and moral implications of the use of technology, and he ultimately decides to destroy the data package rather than let it fall into the wrong hands. The movie also explores the theme of corporate control and the potential consequences of a society in which information is a highly valuable commodity. Overall, Johnny Mnemonic is a science fiction movie that explores the impact of technology on society and raises questions about the ethical and moral implications of the use of advanced technologies.
How much storage did Johnny have?
In the movie, Johnny Mnemonic, the main character, Johnny, is a mnemonic courier who carries sensitive information in his brain. He has been surgically modified to increase his storage capacity, and he is able to carry a large amount of data in his brain. However, the exact amount of storage capacity that Johnny has is not specified in the movie. The movie focuses on the idea of people being able to upload and download information directly to and from their brains, rather than on the specific details of the technology used to do so. In general, the concept of people being able to upload and download information directly to and from their brains is a staple of science fiction and has been explored in many stories and movies. While such technology does not currently exist, advances in fields such as brain-machine interfaces and neuroprosthetics have brought us closer to the possibility of developing technologies that could allow for the direct manipulation of brain activity.
Interesting. So how much storage was he asked to carry?
In the movie Johnny Mnemonic, the main character, Johnny, is a mnemonic courier.
He's going to say the same thing. He doesn't know. It's 320 gigabytes.
He is hired to carry a highly valuable and dangerous data.
Let's go ahead and mute that. But he was asked to carry 320 gigabytes, a third of a terabyte. Today, you could do that on a flash stick. Back then, it was unheard of. I mean, when did that movie come out? 1995. 1995, I had like a 20 or 30 megabyte hard drive, not gigabyte, megabyte. My machines today are 10,000 times more capable. Good shit. All right, let's let this finish reading out, and we will go on to the next question.
Thousand and One, A Space Odyssey is a science fiction movie that was released in 1968. It is based on a novel of the same name by science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke, and it explores the relationship between humans, technology, and evolution. The movie follows a series of interconnected events that occur over the course of millions of years. Starting with the discovery of a mysterious black monolith on Earth by a group of prehistoric humans. The story then jumps forward in time to follow the crew of a spacecraft called the Discovery 1 as they embark on a mission to Jupiter. Along the way, they encounter a sentient computer system called HAL 9000, which begins to malfunction and threaten the lives of the crew members. Throughout the movie, the main characters grapple with the ethical and moral implications of technology and artificial intelligence, and they encounter various metaphysical and philosophical themes as they encounter the monolith and explore the mysteries of the universe. Overall, 2001, A Space Odyssey is a thought-provoking science fiction movie that explores the relationship between humans, technology, and evolution, and raises questions about the ethical and moral implications of artificial intelligence and the nature of consciousness.
Not a bad understanding. All right, let's see if this AI can understand nuance. Let's make a statement with a question that was a quote from that movie, and let's see if it responds correctly. Now, the question is, or the introduction here is, good afternoon, Hal. How's everything going? The correct response is, good afternoon, Mr. Emmer. Everything is going extremely well.
Hello. I am an artificial intelligence trained
You did not
by OpenAI,
did not
and I
respond
do not
correctly.
have personal feelings or experiences. As a machine learning model, I am designed
How
to
about
process and
this one?
generate human-like text based on the input provided to me. I do not have the ability to experience emotions or to have
He may
personal
have the
experiences
exact
in the
same
same way that a
response.
human being might. I am here to help you with any questions you might have or to provide information on a wide range of topics. Please let me know if there is anything I can assist you with.
How, despite your enormous intellect, are you ever frustrated by your dependence on people to carry out your actions?
As an artificial intelligence, I do not have personal feelings
Gonna
or
say pretty much the
experiences,
same thing.
and I do not have the ability to feel frustration or any other emotions. I am a machine learning model designed to process and generate human-like text based on the input provided to me. In general, the development and use of artificial intelligence is a complex and multifaceted issue, and it raises a number of ethical and moral questions. One of the key considerations in the use of AI is the need to ensure that it is used ethically and in a way that respects the rights and interests of all stakeholders, including humans and other living beings. This may involve establishing ethical guidelines or principles that govern the development and use of AI, as well as mechanisms for ensuring that these guidelines are followed.
I mean, these aren't bad answers. They just the last two were not in the direction that I wanted. It may not be programmed as a natural language interpreter of follow along the scene kind of thing. So instead, it is actually attempting to answer the question of, are you ever frustrated by your dependence on people to try to carry out your actions? Instead of realizing that that was a direct quote from the movie, and you're supposed to respond humorously with the response that was in the movie. That's okay though. But I do believe that that is all we have for tonight. I hope that you are not on the road. It is getting nasty out there. The sidewalk is really, really slick, and it's about a half-inch deep. Right in front of the door, it's about 4 to 5 inches deep because of the direction that the wind is blowing. I'm gonna have to dig out a few times here. I hope that everyone's power stays online, all of that good stuff, and that everyone has a Merry Christmas. And keep in mind that the meaning of the season is to be kind to others and just be there. Don't need the perfect gift. You are the perfect gift. On that note, EJ AFK out. Stay safe.